The story begins, and the narrator explains that God first creates humans, then witches, granting them divine power to guide and protect mankind. The witches promise to sacrifice themselves for humans, but over time, humans grow fearful, then hateful, and eventually massacre the witches. The focus then shifts to the Radia Empire, a place where hunting witches becomes a common practice. Across many miles from this empire, we see a young boy named Adonis. He is the student of a witch named Chloe, who is a powerful ice magician. Both Chloe and Adonis are constantly on the run, trying to escape human pursuers who want to kill Chloe. Chloe relies on an old map to find their way, while Adonis uses a smartphone. He easily tracks their location with it, but this frustrates Chloe. She worries that humans can trace them if he uses modern devices. Adonis tries to explain that he changed the settings of the phone so it cannot be tracked, but Chloe gets angry and scolds him, reminding him of the dangers. As they travel, Adonis asks why they must keep running. Chloe explains that as long as humans hate witches, they must hide, but hopes to find a place where he can live peacefully, maybe even study at a school. Adonis refuses. He only wants to learn from her. Though Chloe teases him, Adonis secretly wonders how she stays calm and why witches don't just use their magic to destroy humans. However, a group of soldiers tracks them down. Adonis wants to fight, but Chloe stops him and handles the enemies herself with her ice magic, freezing them instantly.
Squad 8.
Ice magic.
Meanwhile, in the Radia Empire, Emperor Gothers decides that Chloe must be captured. He declares that he cannot allow her to escape any longer. Chloe continues to defeat soldiers, but Adonis feels useless, constantly held back. He summons a massive sword using his magic to prove his strength, but Chloe insists he is still inexperienced. Adonis accuses her of holding him back because he is human. He believes she does not want him to kill his own kind, and starts crying. Chloe embraces him, reassuring him that she also wants to keep him safe. Just then, the soldiers use advanced technology to take Chloe and Adonis with them. Emperor Gothers addresses his people, recalling how humans once relied on witches during disasters and epidemics. But now, he boasts of human progress, airplanes, trains, smartphones, and the new gear expansion technology. Declaring witches unnecessary, he proclaims it's time to eliminate them and prove human supremacy. Adonis and Chloe arrive and witness his speech. Adonis attempts to attack Emperor Gothers, but is quickly restrained by royal guards. Emperor Gothers notices that Adonis is a human child raised by Chloe and wonders aloud about the situation. Chloe furiously threatens Emperor Gothers, unleashing her strongest ice magic Absolute Zero to demonstrate her power. She warns that she avoided fighting humans only for Adonis' sake, because killing them would leave him without a home. But now, she declares their lives are in danger. However, in a shocking moment, her magic shatters.
Hear me, citizen. That boy would lose his one chance of having a home to return to.
Emperor Gothers reveals that humans have created a magic photon device called SDAM2, which suppresses magic completely. After that, Emperor Gothers humiliates Chloe, tearing her clothes. The citizens mock and harass her, taking shameless photos. Watching this, Adonis burns with rage, but his magic fails under the device's effect. Emperor Gothers orders Adonis to be executed. Chloe, terrified for her student, begs for his life. She claims that she kidnapped Adonis and raised him as her slave. She pleads that he is a human like them and should be spared. Adonis realizes she is sacrificing her dignity to protect him, and he cries helplessly while trying to summon magic. Emperor Gothers places a gun to Chloe's head. Accepting her fate, Chloe thanks Adonis for everything. A flashback shows the day she found young Adonis, an orphan on the verge of death. She saved him and gave him a new life. That bond becomes the most precious chapter of her existence. In her final moments, she admits that meeting him brought her happiness. Before she can finish saying she loves him, Emperor Gothers shoots her. Adonis watches in horror as Chloe dies, memories of their joy flashing through his mind. The strongest witch falls, and humans celebrate their triumph. God's words echo, peace was his hope, but fear and hatred would bring darkness. Now Adonis embodies that prophecy, consumed by rage. The story jumps forward to 10 years. Witches are now imprisoned in a mayhem asylum, treated as slaves. Among them is a kind witch named Doroka. She shares her bread with others, earning the concern of her friend Anna. Doroka hides her own hunger, comforting Anna instead. Both despair at the endless conflict, where humanity advances technology only to crush witches further. To lighten the mood, Doroka entertains Anna with handmade dolls, bringing a brief smile, but their peace is broken when guards arrive, calling prisoner number 218. The witches remarks that none of the chosen ones ever return. Doroka notices that Anna is 218, so she changes the nameplate, sacrificing herself to protect her friend. Doroka is taken before Warden Palpol. He explains cruelly that their bodies are exploited to satisfy wealthy lords, funding the Empire's progress. Doroka looks around and sees broken witches suffering horribly. Warden Palpol boasts about the gear expansion revolution that gave humans the power to defeat witches. He takes a photo with Doroka, but she seizes the moment, biting his fingers and stealing his phone. She tries to unlock it, but struggles with the voice lock. After several failed attempts, she mimics Warden Palpol's voice successfully. Using the phone, she unlocks the prison gates and urges everyone to flee. While running, Daroka discovers a massive sealed gate. She opens it and finds a dangerous presence locked inside. Guards rush to stop her, but the seal breaks. The prisoner within awakens, and it is Adonis. His eyes open wide, filled with unstoppable rage. After being freed from his seal, Adonis attacks all the soldiers in his way and kills him. Then, he looks at Daroka, raises the gun toward her head and shoots, but instead of harming her, he only shoots through her handcuffs, unlocking them. Daroka is freed, while Adonis walks forward, consumed by anger. Elsewhere, General Yamato of the National Security Bureau learns of Adonis's escape. He immediately orders Agent Ikout to hunt him down and kill him, but Agent Ikout's childish behavior is frustrating Director Yuki. She loses patience with him, but General Yamato dismisses her anger, reminding her that Agent Ikout is still an important member of the Radia Empire. Back at the Mayhem Asylum, the place is filled with blood and corpses. The guards explain to Warden Palpol that Daroka used his phone to unlock the prison by mimicking his voice. Warden Palpol cannot understand how such a thing is possible. Since Adonis is identified as an SS-level threat, Daroka shouldn't be able to open his prison. Meanwhile, Adonis is sitting high on top of a building. Using his written summoning magic, he fires a bullet forward with a gun. Under his magic, the bullet grows in size until it destroys an entire building in one devastating impact. His intention becomes clear. He wants to erase humanity completely. Meanwhile, Agent Ikout enters the Mayhem Asylum. Instead of saving the prisoners, he slaughters all the remaining witches, ensuring none escape from there. He also executes Warden Palpol without hesitation. Daroka, who had freed the Mayhem Asylum earlier, witnesses Adonis's destructive actions. She blames herself for the chaos. Meanwhile, Adonis continues wandering through the city. His mind drifts back to Chloe. He imagines what she might say if she were alive. Perhaps she would remind him that revenge will never bring her back, and that he should live peacefully if he ever had the chance. But Adonis cannot forget her death. With tears burning in his eyes, he admits that he also loved Chloe. He uses his writing summoning magic. A giant monster bursts through the ground. Buildings collapse, and several people die under the rubble. Inside the NSB headquarters, General Yamato asks if a report has been delivered to Emperor Gota. His subordinate explains that the Queen blocked it, fearing for Emperor Gota's failing health. Then, General Yamato declares that he will use his full authority. He orders the Air Force and ground forces to launch an assault against Adonis. At the same time, Director Yuki informs General Yamato that both Adonis and his quill have disappeared from Mayhem Asylum. Yamato questions the status of the SDAM-2 device that suppresses magic. His subordinate admits that it is stored underground, but doubts it still functions after a decade. General Yamato gives responsibility for it to Director Yuki. Meanwhile, the land forces arrive to attack Adonis and the giant monster. They unleash their attack, but Adonis counters, failing them. To him, nothing has changed in 10 years. Humans are still the same people who murdered Chloe mercilessly. Whether they are leaders or ordinary citizens, he sees no difference. His hatred consumes all of humanity. Adonis summons 2 enormous guns with his magic. He unleashes a storm of bullets on the crowds below. People scream and run, but they are torn apart by the strike. Adonis grins, enjoying the massacre. Tears of joy run down his face as he calls the massacre a beautiful sight, more satisfying than anything he has ever felt before. Agent Ikout finds Adonis and reports his location. The NSB dispatches fighter jets. The jets circle above and launch missiles directly at Adonis and his giant. Explosions tear through the air, and the monster collapses. Adonis falls hard to the ground, injured but alive. Nearby, a mother lies dead under rubble while her children cry out. A building collapses, threatens to crush him. At the last moment, Daroka rushes in and pulls him to safety. She apologizes, blaming herself for the chaos. She leaves the child in safe hands and sets out to confront Adonis. Meanwhile, Emperor Gothar suffers in his castle. The queen comforts him, but his health is failing. Blood drips from his mouth as he struggles to breathe. He reflects on his actions, believing the burning of witches and the conquest of bordering nations were necessary progress for humanity. Even as he wonders if God has cursed him, he feels no regret. He believes humans must reject magic and rise through their own strength. Back in the city, soldiers approach Adonis to finish him, but he kills them one by one without mercy. At that moment, Daroka arrives there. She confronts Adonis, pleading for the killing to stop. She begs him not to kill more innocent humans. Daroka reminds him of Chloe's importance, but this only enrages him more. He furiously accuses her of supporting humans who killed Chloe. Daroka bravely admits she and other witches were too busy fleeing to help Chloe that day, and apologizes through tears. Adonis screams that it will not bring Chloe back. Daroka then claims Chloe can be revived. Adonis throws her to the ground and threatens to kill her for insulting Chloe further. Holding a sword at her throat, he warns that he will destroy anyone who dares speak her name. Daroka persists and explains that Chloe can return through the combination of their shared memories. Adonis's rage breaks, and he remembers Chloe, his tears flowing. He asks if there is truly a way to bring her back. Daroka reassures him, moving closer, telling him he is not alone anymore and can come with her. But before hope can take root, a gunshot rips through the air. Half of Daroka's body is blown apart, her life ending instantly before Adonis's eyes. She falls dead, and with her, the possibility of Chloe's return vanishes. The shooter is Agent Eekhout, watching coldly, her weapon smoking, as Adonis faces the cruel loss of hope once again. In a flashback, we see Doroka's past, when one day, humans suddenly attack her village and start killing witches everywhere. Doroka is shocked and confused as destruction spreads all around. In the middle of the chaos, a girl named Mia runs to her and hugs her tightly. Mia admits she doesn't know why humans are attacking, but she tells Doroka that the witches cannot use magic. A special machine called the SDAM2 is suppressing their powers. Mia believes only Madame Ophelia can save them, so Doroka must go deliver the message. Doroka hesitates. She doesn't want to leave Mia behind, but Mia insists there is no choice. Only one of them can survive. Mia gives Doroka a handmade doll, telling her it will give her courage. Then she points her toward Ophelia's mansion. Doroka finally agrees and runs off. Humans notice Doroka, but they ignore her, and instead focus on Mia. The soldiers kill Mia instantly. Doroka hears the gunshots behind her but doesn't look back. She keeps running, clutching the doll in her hands. Back in the present, Doroka lies dying in front of Adonis. With her last breaths, she apologizes to him. Adonis begs her not to die. He pleads for her to explain how to bring Chloe back. Doroka starts to reveal a witch secret, but before she can finish, soldiers arrive and open fire. She dies on the spot. Adonis realizes Chloe can never be revived. The soldiers keep firing at him, believing he is weak. But Adonis activates his magic. A barrier forms, and every bullet freezes in midair. With a flick, he redirects the bullets back at the soldiers, wiping them out in seconds. Then, standing on a rooftop, Agent Eekhout takes aim and fires a shot. He is certain this will kill Adonis. But Adonis survives completely unharmed. He uses his magic to enlarge the same bullet and fires it back, creating a massive explosion that tears apart the troops. Adonis steps forward and calls humans insects. He rages at them for killing Chloe and still daring to live peacefully. He swears to wipe out every last human so they will feel the same pain he does. Meanwhile, in a NSB control room, General Yamato speaks to Director Yuki. She stands near the SDAM2 device and explains that if the machine activates, Adonis's magic will vanish. Then he can finally be killed. She orders the scientists to prepare it, but Director Theta of the National Science Agency arrives and blocks them. Director Theta explains that while science has advanced humanity, mysteries still remain. She points out the strange particles that suppress magic and reveals something shocking. The device causes a condition called cellular dysfunction, an incurable disease where human cells collapse and die. She warns that this same illness appeared 10 years ago among soldiers fighting witches. The SDAM2 device appears to trigger it. If they use it again, humanity itself could be destroyed. General Yamato realizes this is the same illness that even struck Emperor Goethe. Theta tries to calm Yuki, but Yuki refuses. She claims Adonis is too dangerous and must be stopped at all costs. Ignoring the warnings, she activates the machine. On the other hand, Adonis keeps laughing while killing soldiers. But suddenly, his magic disappears. His quill falls from his hand. Watching from the command center, Yamato demands answers. Director Theta explains the device is active, but both she and Yuki collapse from its effects. Yamato immediately orders troops to finish Adonis. Weakened and crawling, Adonis drags himself toward his quill. Just then, Agent Eekhout approaches him with a blade. He slashes at Adonis's throat. Adonis collapses, bleeding heavily. He dies with a strange peace on his face, believing he will finally reunite with Chloe. Eekhout lifts Adonis's severed head into the air, and the soldiers erupt in cheers, celebrating their supposed victory. The NSB rushes in to help the wounded. General Yamato notices something strange about Agent Eekhout. He looks unusually young, almost suspicious. One of his subordinates suggests checking his identity, but Yamato dismisses it. He instead orders focus on Director Yuki, who has been rushed to the hospital alongside Director Theta. Later, Emperor Goethe addresses the nation. He declares that magic once threatened humanity, but with Adonis now dead, that fear is gone forever. He remembers how 10 years ago, humans captured Adonis from the witches and unsealed him. They were curious how a mere boy could wield magic. But now, science has triumphed. He claims God has abandoned the world, and the Redia Empire itself is God. The scene changes to a classroom where a student has recently died because of Adonis' attack. Another student asks the teacher why Adonis, being a human, sided with witches. The teacher dismisses it, saying he must have been brainwashed. A girl named Rhea, who was the dead boy's girlfriend, stays silent. Later, another girl confronts Rhea, saying she knows the truth. We see a flashback. Rhea's boyfriend was trapped under rubble, begging her to save him. But when another building was about to collapse on them both, Rhea panicked and ran away. Her boyfriend cried out, calling her a coward who abandoned him. Now, standing at his grave, Rhea admits she feels disgusted with herself. Yet strangely, she begins to develop an interest in Adonis. She stares at his photo on her phone, lost in thought. Suddenly, Chief Oz of the National Intelligence Agency appears behind her. He warns her not to show admiration for Adonis. When Rhea leaves, Chief Oz reports her to Chief Charmy. He suggests Rhea should be handed over to the NSB, either imprisoned or executed for being influenced by Adonis. He continues to abuse Charmy until she finally grows tired of his harassment and requests a transfer. But before leaving, she reveals shocking news. The body of Adonis being displayed publicly is a fake. The scene cuts to Adonis's real body. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, and he is still alive. As Adonis opens his eyes, he screams in unbearable pain while several witches restrain him. They declare that no human can withstand space teleportation. Adonis struggles and shouts, unable to understand anything through the agony. Suddenly, the leader of the witches, Ophelia, arrives. She uses her magic to calm him. Slowly, Adonis's pain fades away, and his body relaxes. In a flashback, it is revealed that Agent Ekout was actually a witch in disguise. She was Anna, who used duplication magic to create a fake dead body of Adonis. Anna explains that she had entered the nation together with Daroka, and that everything had been part of a larger plan to revive Chloe. After this, Ophelia transports Adonis to the Kingdom of Witches, a hidden place where they are secretly living. Anna, however, grieves over Daroka's death. Back to the present, Ophelia comforts Adonis with a hug and thanks him for fighting alongside them, but Adonis immediately pulls away, wary of her presence. He looks around, confused, and realizes that this hidden place is a kingdom of witches. After that, two young witches approach him and ask about his condition. While sitting in a wheelchair, Adonis confirms he is fine. The witches then remember how Chloe was kind to them in childhood and how everyone admired her. Later, Adonis is brought back to Ophelia. She warns him that no human can enter the kingdom of witches without invitation, and that the path he has chosen is more difficult than he realizes. His body is still under heavy strain. Adonis wonders how he reached the kingdom of witches at all. Ophelia explains that she specially invited him here because he is Chloe's student. When Adonis asks if she knows Chloe, Ophelia explains that every witch in their kingdom knows her. Chloe was considered kind, wise, and strong, and her magic felt as warm as the sun itself. Yet despite this, she was expelled from their nation. Adonis realizes that it was for teaching magic to a human child. Ophelia explains that magic is sacred to witches, a symbol of God's gift, and something that should never be shared with humans. But Chloe defied them, choosing instead to remain with her human student. Every witch asked her to abandon Adonis and return, but she refused, offering only an apology. Ophelia presents Adonis with his quill. He tries to claim it, but he collapses from the wheelchair. He demands it back. Ophelia explains that the quill is a phoenix feather decorated with ripples and embedded with the eye of a red dragon. It is a masterpiece created by Chloe herself, crafted especially for him. Adonis asks her how Chloe can be revived. Ophelia responds truthfully, for witches do not lie. When Adonis looks up, he realizes he is no longer on Earth. He is on another planet called Lunamilia, where witches have built their new kingdom. After that, we see Adonis now wearing a spacesuit. Ophelia reflects that perhaps humanity's true nature led God to place them on a round world, separated from their own destructive future. She shows Adonis the graves of witches who sacrificed their lives in the war. She explains that humans are driven by emotions. Love is always incomplete, and opposite to it lies hate. Humans believe that witches corrupted them, a belief their king has spread. Later, Ophelia leads Adonis to the Tree of Life. She explains this sacred tree is the origin of all witches. Since witches have only one gender and no partners, the tree itself gives birth to them. Every other Tree of Life has been destroyed by humans, and only this last one remains. The witches carried it with them to Lunamilia to survive. Adonis notices one fruit on the tree holding a developing witch. He assumes it to be Chloe, but Ophelia corrects him. The witch inside is not Chloe, but an unborn being waiting to come into the world. For that witch to take on Chloe's memories and spirit, Adonis's power is required. Ophelia explains that magic is a physical manifestation of human thought. Adonis, who uses written summoning magic, relies entirely on his ideas. His magic is versatile, able to shape reality from imagination. Therefore, if he can fuse Chloe's memories with the unborn witch, Chloe can be revived. The key to bringing her back lies within Adonis himself. Ophelia instructs him to notify her when he is ready for the ritual. Adonis feels overjoyed at the possibility of seeing Chloe again. But Anna interrupts, furious that Daroka died because of this plan. But Adonis shows no sympathy. Anna accuses him of selfishness, questioning why they risked their lives for him. Adonis counters that the witches want Chloe revived for their own purposes. Daroka's last words resurface in Adonis's mind. The witches plan to use Chloe. He realizes the witches built this nation not merely for survival, but also as a cage. They will abduct human children, teach them written-style summoning, and use them as soldiers because their own race is near extinction. Only Chloe could create quills necessary for this magic. Without her, their power is incomplete. This is why they need her back. Anna blocks Adonis, demanding to know what he intends to do with this knowledge. She refuses to let Daroka's sacrifice be wasted. Adonis declares he will revive Chloe and follow her will, even if it means opposing all witches. After that, the ritual begins. Adonis performs written summoning magic, gathering Chloe's memories into physical form. One by one, he places those memories into the fruit of the Tree of Life. As he works, he recalls his time with Chloe, treasuring each moment. He knows he can never trade those memories, no matter how much pain they bring. A memory surfaces of Chloe bathing, where Adonis once peeked inside. Shocked, he noticed scars covering her body. Embarrassed, he turned away. But Chloe, hiding her tears, thanked him for always standing by her side. She confessed that without him, she could not have survived her loneliness. Now, during the ritual, Adonis relives these moments. He whispers his love for her, cherishing her presence even in memory. Chloe, in his vision, thanks him once more. The ritual concludes, but the outcome is not what Adonis expects. Instead of Chloe, Daroka is reborn from the fruit. Adonis chooses not to revive Chloe. He admits in his heart that he loves her too much to bring her back into this filthy world, where there is no place for someone as kind and sweet as her. Instead, he takes back Chloe's memories and revives Daroka in her place. All the witches stand shocked as Daroka returns to life. Adonis moves forward and helps Daroka stand, reminding her that he does not like to keep debts on his head. Daroka looks around in confusion. She realizes she is in the witch's kingdom. When she notices that she has no clothes on, she quickly steps back in embarrassment and asks him not to remember what he saw. Adonis calmly gives her clothes to wear, reminding her that she once saved his life inside the Radia Empire, and now they are equal. Ophelia confronts Adonis and reminds him that the witches risked their lives, brought him safely out of the Radia Empire, healed his wounds, and cared for him. Yet, in the end, he revives Daroka instead of Chloe. Ophelia also questions Daroka, asking if she revealed something to Adonis. Daroka is about to answer, but Adonis cuts her off and silences all the witches, insisting that reviving Chloe was only his personal thought and no one else was involved. Ophelia mocks him, reminding him that he is still just an ordinary human. But before the tension can grow, humans suddenly launch an attack on the witch's kingdom. Ophelia immediately suspects Adonis, and he apologizes, showing a chip, causing the sacred tree of life to catch fire. General Yamato soon arrives with his forces. He mocks the witches, calling them the last tribe hiding like rats. Adonis reminds him that he was the one who invited him here, but Yamato refuses to respect him. In the chaos, a water witch named Olia uses water magic downpour to save the burning tree of life. Before she can succeed, soldiers kill her, destroying the witch's final hope of saving the tree. Ophelia orders the witch named Santa Maria, who uses boost armor magic to create armor for all of them. The battle begins. Meanwhile, Yamato attacks Adonis with his blade in a single strike. Adonis dodges, but a deep cut appears on his face. In return, Adonis uses written summoning magic to take Yamato's gun and fires back at him, forcing the general to fall behind. Yamato quickly activates his suit's defense system, which blocks Adonis's next shots. Even though the bullets do not hurt him, the suit's defense level keeps increasing. The witches, however, keep fighting. Finally, Ophelia lifts dozens of soldiers into the air. The soldiers fire bullets at her, but her power bends reality, making the bullets pass harmlessly by her. She unleashes a special move called Death Game, crushing the suspended humans together until they die. She declares that humans have always been weak and feeble. But soon, reinforcements arrive. More human soldiers rush in with advanced weapons, killing witches one after another. Ophelia realizes that the humans had cameras watching the battle from the very beginning. Their true goal was never to win directly, but to reduce the witches' numbers. Back to Radia Empire, Director Theta, who is still recovering, explains the situation to the leaders of the bureaus. Public Information Bureau, Director Denaz questions how so many witches are still alive when humans supposedly killed them all 10 years ago. Director Theta reveals old satellite footage, showing that the witches once used human science to escape Earth. They built structures on the witches' kingdom, beyond human radar. The Bureau's leaders react angrily, criticizing Theta's department for failing to discover this earlier. But National Intelligence Bureau, Director Shirusagi, reminds them that they must focus on the current witch hunt before worrying about anything else. In a flashback, we see Director Yuki remain sealed in a glass cabin, undergoing treatment. General Yamato recalls how Yuki had always supported him. When he joined the National Security Bureau, Yuki stood by his side. When he became a general, Yuki rose to vice general. Even though she was only 14 years old, she carried the weight of her position. Yamato blames Adonis for everything that has happened. As a result, Yamato increases his suit level to 500, drastically boosting his speed. In one swift move, he covers the distance, reaches Witch's Kingdom, and punches Adonis in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. Yamato then prepares a devastating strike, imagining a peaceful future where he and Yuki can live safely together once the witches are exterminated. His deadly attack cuts down many witches, splitting them in half, even Ophelia herself. Daroka stands in shock and collapses. However, Anna used her replication magic to save Daroka and sacrificed herself to save Daroka, leaving her friend alive. With her dying breath, she thanks Daroka for being her friend before she is killed before Daroka's eyes. The witches lose all hope as the Tree of Life finally burns to ashes. Without the tree, their source of birth is gone, and extinction is certain. Some witches begin to surrender, but a witch urges them not to give up. She insists that if they support Adonis, they can still defeat the humans. Before they can regroup, another reinforcement arrives, slaughtering the last of the witches. Adonis and Yamato continue their duel. Yamato drives his sword into Adonis's chest, believing victory is near, but Adonis uses his written summoning magic and summons a giant blade, the sacred claymore. The blade falls upon Yamato, slicing off his arm. Yamato clutches the wound, stopping the bleeding. Adonis recognizes that they both carry the same fire of revenge. Yamato promises to finish the fight, stepping forward to kill Adonis. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the National Science Bureau, the scientists desperately try to restore the broken signal from the witch's kingdom. Suddenly, a call arrives from Yamato and he announces that the mission is complete. The witches have been successfully exterminated. The victory belongs to humanity. As Yamato prepares for his final attack to kill Adonis, Doroka steps in and uses her magic on them. Yamato suddenly becomes unable to move. Doroka possesses a rare ability known as the love spell, which can control others completely. She casts this spell on everyone around, freezing them in place. Even Yamato cannot resist it, and against his own will, he reveals his name when Doroka demands it. Adonis takes advantage of the situation and urges Doroka to end Yamato quickly, but instead of choosing violence, Doroka wants peace, declaring that she does not want to see endless fighting. She offers Yamato a chance. If he withdraws his soldiers and promises never to attack witches or Adonis again, she will remove the love spell. Everyone becomes astonished, especially the witches who remember the cruelty of humans. Adonis reminds her that humans killed Anna, her close friend. They cannot believe she would let humans live after so much bloodshed. Despite the love spell, Yamato gradually regains control of his body. He strikes at Doroka and angrily blames her for all the destruction. Doroka challenges him by pointing out the hypocrisy. She reminds him that humans have also slaughtered countless witches through the centuries, spilling their blood for no reason other than fear and hatred. She explains that witches and humans were once allies, and violence was never necessary. Doroka tries to calm Yamato further by holding his hands and intensifying her love spell. At this point, Yamato's backstory unfolds. He once joined the National Security Bureau. To show his dedication, he was forced to kill the witches. His memories reveal the burden of that choice, yet he tells himself that as a soldier of Radia Empire, he cannot be defeated by something as small as a love spell. But deep inside, his childhood innocence resurfaces. He sees himself as a young boy running toward a girl, softening his hardened stance. He finally accepts Doroka's love spell. Before this new path of peace can unfold, Adonis acts mercilessly. He drives his blade into Yamato's head and ends his life instantly. Adonis then declares that nothing remains for him except revenge. He admires the power of Doroka's love spell and insists that it can be used to wipe out humanity itself. Doroka resists the idea, but Adonis refuses to stop. At the Radia Empire's royal palace, an officer informs Emperor Goda that the witches may finally be eradicated. On hearing this, he loses his mental stability. He erupts in rage and demands the destruction of not just the witches, but of Adonis as well. The soldier notices his unstable condition, but remains silent. Emperor Goda clings to Dorothea, breaking down like a child. Dorothea soothes him and secretly uses love spell on him. Under its influence, she convinces him that his mission is complete and that he can finally rest. Emperor Goda, under the influence of love spell, walks joyfully toward the edge of the castle. He leaps to his death, believing he has fulfilled his duty. However, Dorothea magic only affects men, not women. Because of this limitation, she was forced to eliminate her own clan. She explains that she never wanted to rule the world. What she truly desires remains hidden. Dorothea reveals her face and admits she abandoned her clan long ago and even destroyed her own race in pursuit of her goal. Inside her chamber, there is a portrait of a man who strongly resembles Adonis, only with red hair, along with the identical quill. Meanwhile, Adonis grows more ruthless. He creates a magical whip from his quill and slaughters the remaining soldiers one by one. Each attack shreds their bodies into pieces. The helpless soldiers cannot defend themselves because Doroka's love spell holds them. Doroka feels devastated, realizing that her magic is being twisted into something she never intended. Doroka desperately attempts to stop Adonis by casting her love spell on him. She confesses that she never wanted to use it against him, but his rampage leaves her no choice. Adonis, however, stands unshaken before her and dares her to try. Doroka falters, unable to act, and Adonis continues his massacre. The soldiers plead for mercy, but he ignores their cries. Doroka warns him that the cycle of killing only fuels his desire for more vengeance, making it impossible to stop. She admits that she is tired of watching death everywhere around her. She no longer wishes to live in such a world, yet Adonis shuts her out and presses forward. In a horrifying act, Adonis lifts Yamato's severed head and tears the skin from his face with his own hands. He uses his magic to replicate Yamato's voice. Disguised in this gruesome way, he contacts Radia Empire's headquarters. Pretending to be Yamato, he declares that after a fierce battle, the witches have all been eliminated, though every soldier has also perished. He claims no support is required and that reinforcements should not be sent. His deception nearly works, but Director Theta quickly realizes something is wrong. She senses that this is not Yamato at all. Back Witch's Kingdom, Adonis smiles behind Yamato's skin, happy with his manipulation. Ophelia, watching the chaos, accuses him of sacrificing everyone from the beginning. Adonis brushes her off and turns to Doroka, ordering her to come with him because her magic is valuable. Doroka resists and slaps him, reminding him of the path he is straying from. At that moment, the scene changes and a transmission plays. Humanity, now drowning in evil, will face divine judgment. The punishment for their actions will be decided by a higher power. Director Theta prepares her final stand. She had already expected Adonis to arrive disguised as Yamato. However, Adonis has teleported himself and Doroka far away from the Radia Empire to a barren desert. He believes this is the best place to begin their path to victory. However, Doroka thinks about telling Adonis that many witches were still alive, and they could have tried to save them. But Adonis ignored that chance. He only changed the teleportation location and abandoned the other witches to die at the hands of humans. Then Adonis explains his plan that he intends to destroy every city and village that stands in his way. He wants to gather information and collect resources for survival. He even admits he needs some medicine. Doroka does not agree with him. She insists on returning to the remaining witches, but Adonis tries to convince her that survival on the witches' kingdom is impossible. He warns that she will only find death there. But Doroka refuses to listen. Because she will not change her mind, Adonis reluctantly uses written summoning magic to erase her memories to stop her. While doing this, he criticizes her mindset. In his view, she never fit in with the other witches because she still dreams about rebuilding connections with humans. Doroka reveals her true reason for wanting to know him. She always wondered what kind of human Chloe trusted enough to accept as a student. Doroka believes Adonis is special because he belongs to both worlds. He is human, yet he was raised and taught by a witch. In her eyes, he could act as a bridge between humans and witches, someone capable of improving relations between the two sides. Adonis argues that she does not truly understand him. Doroka tries to make him understand that endless hatred will never disappear unless someone chooses peace. But Adonis values Chloe more than the entire human race. He sees the world itself as his enemy because it took Chloe away from him. Doroka asks if he even realizes what sacrifices this path requires. She reminds him of the witches who died because of his decision to summon humans to the witches' kingdom. She claims their deaths weigh heavily on his hands, but Adonis coldly reminds her that they both were only able to live because of those sacrifices. He believes her friends gave their lives so that she could survive. Hearing this, Doroka becomes furious. She starts crying and remarks he is the reason all the witches perished despite their hard struggle to live. Adonis becomes furious and grabs her by the throat. He shouts that Doroka watched her friends die, yet she still wants to forgive humans. Doroka keeps crying and insists that revenge never heals anything. Adonis throws her down, declaring that revenge is the only thing left for him. But Doroka reminds him of Chloe's sacrifice. She remarks Chloe gave her life so Adonis could live on. No matter how cruel or empty the world becomes, Chloe's decision cannot be undone. If Adonis keeps chasing revenge, it will destroy his heart and turn him into the same kind of human who took Chloe away. Adonis reveals his truth. His revenge is not just anger, it is proof that Chloe still exists within him. If he stops taking revenge, then all of Chloe's memories will fade away, and this is what terrifies him. Doroka begins to understand his feelings, but soon, Adonis collapses unconscious because of heavy blood loss. At that moment, a gang arrives on bike. They watch as Adonis and Doroka and mistake them as a couple running away from the Radia Empire. Their leader name is Punch, and his gang members asks him what they should do now. The next morning, Adonis wakes inside the gang's hideout. He remembers Doroka asked the gang for help, and they agreed. Punch offers him water, but Adonis refuses, remarking that he has no desire to drink water of the Radia Empire. He then demands to know where Doroka is. Punch casually responds that the pink-haired girl was cute, so some men took her away. Adonis grows tense, but Punch assures him and leads him outside. Punch explains people from every nation who fled their homelands now live here as wanderers. Suddenly, Adonis hears Doroka screaming. He watches a group of people surrounding her. Believing she is in danger, he quickly pulls out his quill and rushes in. But he misunderstands. Doroka is not in danger. She is struggling to ride a bike. She keeps moving in circles, screaming about how to stop it. Adonis scolds her recklessness. Later, Doroka gives Adonis 2 handmade dolls that look like them. She apologizes for not realizing his injuries earlier. Adonis rejects the dolls and throws them away. That evening, Punch hosts a party and orders Adonis and Doroka to serve beer as payment for saving them. As Doroka serves the beer, an old man tries to harass her, but she cleverly avoids him. Adonis quietly watches from a distance, his eyes only on her. Some people tease Daroka, asking if she fought with her boyfriend. Daroka denies any romantic connection, saying they are just traveling partners. Suddenly, everyone begins collapsing. Adonis had spiked the drinks with tranquilizers to make them sleep for a week, and Daroka feels embarrassed for not realizing it. Adonis then declares that he no longer needs Daroka. He explains that he cannot smile or laugh like she does after losing someone important. For him, their paths are completely different. Daroka sadly admits she only pretended, so no one would discover she was a witch. But Adonis leaves, telling her they are different, and he hopes she never becomes like him. However, Daroka sits there heartbroken. Punch comments that her boyfriend is a jerk for leaving without thanks and abandoning her, but Daroka feels Adonis is kind because he wants to protect her from becoming like him. Far away, Adonis travels alone, but cannot stop thinking about Daroka. Her face and thoughts keep returning. Suddenly, he notices someone following him and prepares to fight. In a flashback, Punch reveals to Daroka that he already knows Adonis was Chloe's student. He remembers the time when Chloe and Adonis once saved his life in the desert. Punch remembers seeing how happy Adonis was with Chloe. He explains that only the luckiest person understands the feeling of having someone worth fighting the entire world for. This is why no one can convince Adonis that revenge is right or wrong. It is his chosen path. Daroka admits she does not want Adonis to die. Back to the present, the biker chasing Adonis turns out to be Daroka herself. She rides toward him even though she struggles to control the bike. She promises she will not interfere in his journey but wants to stay with him since traveling alone is dangerous. Adonis, instead of scolding, feels happy. He realizes Daroka did not abandon him. Punch, watching, tells Adonis not to make her cry again. In the Redia Empire, an official gathering is arranged after the death of Emperor Goethe. The host explains that Emperor Goethe once introduced the gear expansion revolution, which pushed human civilization forward at a rapid pace. This technological advancement made humans stronger, and with that strength, he started the witch hunt. All witches were killed, and humans no longer needed their powers. Civilization grew so advanced that it is believed another emperor like Emperor Goethe can never exist again. In the middle of this ceremony, a new emperor of the Redia Empire makes an appearance. The spotlight shifts to Dorothea, who walks onto the stage. As she begins her performance, her act is broadcast across the entire kingdom. Every man who watches her instantly falls under the influence of her love magic. With only one dance, she manages to place the entire kingdom under her control. Dorothea then expresses her affection for the people, and the crowd reacts with loud cheers of joy. At the same time, another group of people in a distant location watches everything that happens. They observe how Dorothea bends the empire to her will. They describe her as a witch who has destroyed her own kind and turned science into her weapon. By combining both, she rises to power and earns the title of queen. They admit that no one truly understands her abilities because she is unpredictable. While Dorothea's image spreads everywhere, chaos grows inside the empire. People are slaughtered, and their severed heads are collected and displayed. The broadcast continues to stream across the empire, and suddenly, a crown appears above Dorothea's head. This moment marks her official rise as the new queen of humanity. Far away, Shirasagi watches the broadcast on his phone. Blood drips from his nose as he looks on. He recognizes Dorothea as his childhood friend, who has now become the Queen of Humanity. Shirasagi is assigned to find Adonis. However, Adonis already destroyed Yamato's smartphone, which means no one can track him anymore. Shirasagi uses magic and forms several strange hands from his body, each carrying eyes like his own. The scene then changes to Adonis and Daroka, who are traveling together on a bike. As they continue riding, Adonis asks Daroka a question that has been troubling him. He wonders if she has the power to control people with her magic, why she did not use it on him during their first encounter. Ophelia gave her the order to capture him, and if Daroka had chosen to cast her love spell, she could have easily succeeded. Daroka explains that she wanted their first meeting to be different, not forced by magic. Adonis keeps his thoughts to himself, but considers her reasoning foolish. The journey continues until they reach a deserted place called Sandland City. Adonis prepares to search inside while asking Daroka to wait outside. She refuses firmly and insists on staying by his side. During their conversation, Adonis notices a bag Daroka carries. She explains that Punch gave it to her, filled with food, water, and medical supplies. She demonstrates one of its items, a snowball that transforms into a tent when pressed. Punch told her it is popular among young couples because it is comfortable at night. Adonis brushes it off, uninterested, and tells her to keep it. Once inside the city, Adonis discovers that it is completely abandoned. There are no signs of fighting, but not a single person remains. The emptiness confuses him, and he begins to investigate further. Together, they enter a police station. Adonis warns Daroka to be cautious, but she keeps making mistakes along the way. She panics at rats, bats, and spiderwebs, and even gets her foot stuck in the floor. Adonis grows irritated by her clumsiness, and Daroka sits silently in a corner, apologizing. Things get worse when she mistakes a hologram for a ghost. She screams in fear, hides behind Adonis, and trembles. Adonis calmly explains that it's only a hologram and nothing ghost. As they explore the building further, they reach the holding cells. From one cell, a faint song is heard. Inside sits an old man playing a guitar, lost in his music. Next to him lies another figure. Adonis and Daroka try to call him, but he is so absorbed in his song that he does not notice. Daroka finally shouts loudly, shocking the old man. Adonis then notices a wedding ring placed on a bed inside the cell. He questions the old man, who explains that he is a prisoner. Adonis loses interest and prepares to leave, stating that there is nothing worth staying for. The old man agrees, explaining that after the gear expansion revolution, everyone abandoned the city. He does not know what happened to them afterward. Hearing this, Adonis quickly leaves the building and readies his bike. Daroka stops him, insisting that they cannot leave the old man trapped and starving. Adonis coldly replies that it is not their problem. Daroka argues further, asking if they can at least give him some food. Adonis sighs heavily and explains that the cell was not locked. The old man is not truly alone. In Adonis's view, the man is with his wife, and what they need is peace, not food. It is revealed the old man indeed speaks to his wife, but she died long ago. She was a witch, imprisoned here by humans, and left behind. The old man continues to stay by her side, apologizing for failing to protect her. However, Adonis and Daroka ride off toward their next destination. After that, Adonis and Daroka enter Mamuta City. Daroka feels uneasy and questions whether Adonis truly intends to fight here. She tries to stop him, but Adonis ignores and walks into the city without hesitation. When they step inside, both are surprised to discover that the place has been abandoned long ago. The streets are empty, the buildings stand lifeless. Daroka notices a woman lying on the ground nearby. She rushes to help, worried about her condition. Covering the woman with her coat, Daroka believes she is saving a life. But then she realizes this figure is not a human being. It is a mechanical doll. The doll scans Daroka's body carefully and then suddenly attacks her. Daroka becomes shocked, but Adonis reacts quickly, shooting the doll and destroying it. He explains that humans made these dolls, once used them for their own entertainment, treating them as objects of pleasure. They hear loud noises echoing from a building named Hoth Hospital. Adonis decides to investigate but warns Daroka not to follow him. He makes it clear that she must stay behind unless she wants him to leave her completely. Daroka stands silently as he goes inside, but concern makes her disobey. She looks around and sees multiple dolls staring at her, whispering desires. Inside, Adonis walks through dark hallways, using magic to create light. Daroka follows him from behind, despite his earlier warning. She convinces herself that Adonis is kind-hearted and will not truly leave her behind. Yet she recalls the time when Adonis abandoned her before, and another time when he punished her harshly. Eventually, Adonis notices her presence and confronts her with a stern look. Daroka shivers, expecting the worst. She pleads with him, offering to apologize if that will calm his anger. She then reasons him that staying together reduces the risks they face. Adonis softens and accepts her words, allowing her to continue with him. The two go upstairs where a terrible scent greets them. Inside one room, they find mechanical dolls fulfilling their desires with dead bodies. Adonis notices that each of the dolls carries a Radia Empire tag, proof of their origin. As Adonis prepares to destroy them, the dolls begin expressing their pain. They admit that they only wanted affection, not this miserable existence. Programmed to serve desires, they had no choice in how they lived. They ask Adonis to end their suffering. Understanding their plea, Adonis destroys them. They show gratitude, thanking him for granting freedom. Far away, we see two sisters advance toward the Radia Empire. Their path is blocked by enemy soldiers, but the sisters easily defeat them. The elder uses shurikens, cutting down enemies swiftly, while the younger finishes survivors with her katana. They face waves of soldiers and cut through them effortlessly, remarking that such opponents are nothing to them. Meanwhile, Adonis explains to Daroka what Ophelia once told him, that science would expose the true nature of humanity. Humans, driven by desire, created these dolls for their entertainment. Only women could be modeled in such ways to fulfill those needs. Mamuta City lacked the resources to provide the Radia Empire with such dolls. Instead, the people sent their own women in exchange for artificial ones. The men abandoned wives and children just for these machines. Daroka realizes how selfish and cruel humanity can be. With no women left to raise families, new generations never came, and the city slowly collapsed into ruin. Nearby, Adonis finds more discarded dolls thrown into a pool. He decides to free them too. Carrying speakers he collected from abandoned vehicles, he sets up his plan. Daroka asks what he intends to do, and he explains that he will use his magic to release them all. She doesn't understand at first, but then realizes he plans to give them painless death. Worried, she asks if it will hurt. Adonis assures her it will only cause a brief shock. he activates the speakers, releasing out shockwaves that strike the dolls. As they collapse, one whispers a final thank you. Daroka smiles through her sadness, understanding that they are finally at peace. Adonis continues until all the dolls are freed. The scene changes back to the two sisters, who finally reach Mamuta City. They notice Adonis as someone who brought destruction to the Redia Empire. The elder sister wonders why they should capture him since they have nothing to do with witch hunt. But the younger explains that even though Emperor Suzure instructed them to capture anything that helps keep the Redia Empire in check, so they decide to pursue him. As they prepare their move, Shirusagi appears in their path. Adonis, meanwhile, readies himself to leave. Shirusagi warns the sisters to stay away, but they attack him. Meanwhile, Daroka creates a memorial for the dolls. She lights candles, offering prayers for them. Adonis watches and tells her that prayers are meaningless. If she truly wants to honor them, she should direct her anger toward humanity. Adonis reminds her that all witches died because of him, making him the one responsible. He even suggests Daroka reconsider traveling with him, giving her one final chance to leave. Daroka, instead of blaming him, shows him two dolls she crafted that look like the both of them. She explains that they represent peace. Unlike what Adonis fears, she neither blames him nor hates him. She reminds him that the witches only wanted to use him for their own purpose, to revive Chloe and make a weapon. Hearing this, Adonis agrees to continue with her. Daroka asks if this means they are officially a team now. Adonis dismisses the dolls she made, telling her to throw them away. She insists she made them herself and wonders if he dislikes them. When Adonis asks if she has any other skill, she proudly mentions singing, but he refuses to let her perform. At that moment, they are astonished to find Shirusagi sitting on Adonis's bike. In an instant, he destroys the bike completely. He has already defeated the two sisters and holds their heads as proof. Shirusagi reveals his identity as a powerful figure from the Redia Empire and declares that he has come for Adonis's head. Adonis does not hesitate. He steps forward, ready to face him in battle. Meanwhile, Charmy watches everything from above with her drone. Through this, Adonis quickly realizes that the Redia Empire has already found their location. Adonis asks about the two sisters, but Shirusagi clarifies that he does not know much about them. They had found Adonis before he did, and they became obstacles in his way. That is why he decided to kill them. In a flashback, we see the two sisters attack Shirusagi together. However, he cut their necks in a single move, ending their lives instantly. However, Daroka protests against his actions, but Shirusagi suddenly approaches her. When he looks at her face, he decides to speak, but Adonis pushes Daroka aside before anything happens. Adonis prepares to use his written summoning magic, but before he can activate it, Shirusagi lands a powerful punch on his stomach. The impact is so strong that Adonis is thrown far away. Shirusagi then mocks him by claiming his magic is too slow to match his speed. Despite being injured, Adonis quickly summons a gun and starts shooting at Shirusagi. However, Shirusagi easily dodges every bullet that comes his way. Realizing that normal bullets have no effect, Adonis increases the size of the bullets with magic, but Shirusagi bends down and effortlessly dodges those as well. Moving with great speed, Shirusagi closes the distance and prepares to attack. At that moment, Daroka uses her love magic to stop him. She threatens to control him if he does not stop. Adonis appreciates Daroka's attempt, believing they can use this chance to extract information about the Redia Empire. But to their shock, the love spell has no effect on Shirusagi. Instead, he laughs and compares her magic to that of the queen. A flashback is shown where Dorothea once used her love spell to command Emperor Gerda to kill himself, and he obeyed happily. Soon, the truth becomes clear. When Shirusagi removes his upper clothing, they notice a heart-shaped mark already engraved on his chest. This reveals that he is already bound under someone else's spell. More secrets unfold as holes appear on Shirusagi's back, from which countless mechanical arms extend. Each arm is attached with boosters, and Shirusagi is able to control them at will. Adonis wants Daroka to step back, believing she is useless without spell magic. But before he voices it, he remembers Chloe's suffering and holds back the words. Turning around, he notices Daroka struggling to lift a huge stone. She can barely manage, yet she insists on fighting alongside him. Daroka declares her decision to stay with him, whether he seeks revenge or not. She refuses to let him die here. Moved by her determination, Adonis summons new equipment. He gives Daroka a sword and covers himself with armor. He explains the power of this armor, which can cut through anything with a single blow. But Daroka needs to learn basic sword skills first. He provides her with a manual, but Daroka is overwhelmed and struggles to understand it. Shirusagi grows irritated, claiming he cannot stand seeing them act so close in front of him. Out of jealousy, he launches his arms to attack them. The mechanical arms shoot forward with boosters, moving at extreme speed and surrounding both Adonis and Daroka from all sides. But Adonis and Daroka work together, using the sword and armor to destroy the attacking arms. Adonis shows no struggle handling them, but Daroka struggles. The mechanical arms strike her face and stomach repeatedly. More arms close in, surrounding her completely. Adonis rushes to protect her, slashing through the swarm of arms to keep her safe. Realizing their strength, Shirosagi increases the output of his arms. Their speed and force rise even higher, making the battle more dangerous. Adonis again uses his written summoning magic, and a lot of strips appear. These strips destroy the arms before they reach, shielding both Doroka. The strips then begin twisting together, forming into a rotating ball. This magical ball spins rapidly and charges straight toward Shirosagi. Charmy warns him to move, but Shirosagi refuses to back down. He retracts all his arms and uses his boosters to stabilize himself. Stretching his arms forward, he attempts to stop the spinning ball using force. At first, Shirosagi is under the pressure, but he powers up the boosters even more and manages to hold it. Just as he regains control, the ball suddenly bursts open. Adonis seizes the moment and launches a surprise attack. Shirosagi quickly blocks it with his armor, stopping Adonis mid-air. But Shirosagi does not notice Doroka hiding behind. She emerges suddenly and attacks him from close range. Adonis urges her to remember the blood of witches and take revenge. Doroka, however, hesitates when she looks at Shirosagi's face. Instead of striking his head or chest, she attacks his legs. Shirosagi grabs her face and lectures her that killing requires strikes to vital points, not to the legs. Adonis jumps in again, but Shirosagi punches him, knocking both of them backward. Doroka suffers heavy injuries, coughing blood. Shirosagi prepares to finish her, but Adonis once again binds him with magical strips. He tightens the grip, trying to crush him, but Shirosagi keeps one arm free. With it, he counters and restrains Adonis, preventing him from maintaining his spell. Without control, Adonis's magic risks breaking apart. Doroka refuses to let Adonis die. She pushes through her fear and prepares herself to fight. At that moment, one of the flying arms grabs her hair and lifts her high into the air. Adonis attempts to save her, but more arms overwhelm him and slam him into the ground. His magic breaks apart, and Shirosagi escapes the strips. Now completely free, Shirosagi tells Adonis, indicating what he plans to do to Doroka. Meanwhile, Doroka recalls all the moments she has spent with Adonis. Doroka, in her heart, expresses gratitude to Adonis for always staying by her side. She wishes she could see more sides of him if she had just one wish, but Shirosagi coldly prepares her end. Shirosagi presses against Doroka's eyes and starts to pull them out, while she screams in pain. Her cries echo across the battlefield, and Adonis immediately remembers Chloe, who had once suffered the same fate. Back then, he could only watch helplessly. Shirosagi taunts Adonis by reminding him about Chloe. Adonis struggles and manages to free himself. He rushes toward Doroka, but before he can reach her, Shirosagi completely pulls out both her eyes. Doroka collapses to the ground. Adonis sees Doroka has lost her vision forever, her body trembling, and the ground beneath them is soaked in blood. Doroka weakly admits that she cannot see anything anymore. Adonis tries desperately to stop the blood with his hands, but the bleeding refuses to end. Despite the pain, Doroka insists she is fine and tells him he must leave if he wants to survive. She promises she will somehow follow later. Shirosagi continues to provoke Adonis by cruelly showing him Doroka's eyes. The sight shocks Adonis, and he demands them back, convinced he could repair them. But Shirosagi is merciless. Instead of giving them back, he plays with the eyes and then crushes them between his fingers, destroying Adonis's last hope. Adonis's rage explodes, and he attacks furiously. But Shirosagi easily avoids the attacks and counters with a heavy kick. Adonis catches the kick in desperation and slams Shirosagi into a wall, then retreats. While running, he questions himself, wondering if he is still the same helpless person who cannot protect anyone. Shirosagi quickly recovers and launches his hands toward him. Adonis reverses the attack with magic, making the hands turn back on Shirosagi, but he avoids them without effort. When he looks again, Adonis has disappeared. He has carried Doroka aside and realizes she will not survive unless he stops the bleeding soon. He takes one of Shirosagi's burning hands and presses it against Doroka's injuries. The pain is unbearable, but the bleeding finally stops. Doroka, in agony, reveals her wish for an ordinary life. She wanted to go to school like a normal girl, eat lunch with Adonis, and enjoy a peaceful existence. Her words strike Adonis deeply. He remembers Chloe's final wish, which was the same, to live as a normal girl. He feels crushed with guilt and self-hatred, realizing he has failed again to protect someone dear to him. Meanwhile, Shirosagi searches for him, but Adonis prepares for another battle. He uses the written summoning magic, and the giant monster shows up to attack Shirosagi. However, Shirosagi dodges easily and uses his hands to counter. Adonis provokes him by mentioning Queen Dorothea, threatening to do the same to her that was done to Doroka. Shirosagi loses his composure and attacks in fury. The giant and Shirosagi clash violently, but Shirosagi proves stronger. He summons colossal hands that smash the giant apart. Adonis struggles desperately, but cannot overcome him. Each time he tries to use magic, Shirosagi moves faster, slamming him down before he can complete the spell. Shirosagi points out Adonis's weakness, saying he takes too long to use his magic. He then fuses his hands into one enormous weapon and smashes it into Adonis. Doroka wakes up and blindly tries to move toward him. Shirosagi approaches her, disguising his voice to sound like Adonis. But Doroka recognizes the deception instantly. Then he throws Adonis against a wall with iron rods. His body is pierced through, blood flowing heavily. Shirosagi does not stop there. He crushes more of Adonis's bones, leaving him near death. When Doroka tries to speak, Shirusagi grabs her by the neck and pins her against the wall. He tears at her clothes and strikes her stomach hard, leaving her coughing in agony. He explains his cruelty, saying he removed her eyes so she would not resemble Queen Dorothea. The story flashes back to reveal how Shirusagi met Queen Dorothea. Their meeting was by chance, but he later realized it was part of a carefully planned scheme. However, by then, he was already enslaved by love. With Queen Dorothea, he experienced pleasure and loyalty unlike anything before. That is why he remains her servant even now. He tells Doroka that since she looks similar to Queen Dorothea, the world does not need her. Her existence, he claims, is nothing more than a cruel joke. Doroka clings to his leg and begs him to leave Adonis alone. She admits she saw what Adonis did to the Radia Empire, but she knows everything began with human cruelty during the witch hunts. This destruction, she believes, is the result of that injustice. She does not know if humans should be forgiven, but after what Shirusagi has done to her, she is convinced forgiveness is impossible. She believes revenge is now the only path. Shirusagi responds with violence, crushing her head to the ground and declaring he will take Adonis's head. At this moment, Adonis, broken but conscious, makes one final request. He wants Doroka to cast her love spell on him so he can regain control of his body. Otherwise, both will die here. Doroka hesitates, but then apologizes in her heart to Chloe. She casts her love spell, and a radiant light engulfs Adonis, his body healing instantly. His broken bones mend, his wounds vanish, and Adonis rises again, stronger than ever. He strikes Shirusagi with overwhelming force, sending him flying into a wall. Through Doroka's love spell, Adonis gains limitless magic and full recovery. A flashback reveals Doroka's past. Witches, including Ophelia, mocked her magic, calling it useless, claiming it was nothing but a curse. Doroka only wanted to be a good witch, but her power made her feel worthless. However, Adonis accepts her love spell fully, giving her permission to use him. Doroka casts her most powerful spell, Nightfall, which removes all limits and grants Adonis infinite strength. A new quill appears in Adonis's hand, glowing with immense energy. Doroka assures him no one can defeat him anymore. Shirusagi senses his defeat and tries to flee, but Adonis transforms his quill into a blade and strikes through nearby buildings, leaving massive destruction around, across Shirusagi's chest, leaving a deep wound. With Doroka by his side, he stands tall, reborn with limitless power. Adonis uses his power and attacks Shirusagi, destroying the nearby buildings. A huge wound appears on Shirusagi's chest. Adonis holds him and throws him so hard that Shirusagi smashes through several buildings and falls. Adonis reaches him and crushes Shirusagi's hands and legs, declaring they must be broken. Shirusagi collapses onto the ground, his whole body breaking down. He lifts his head and watches Adonis and Doroka standing before him. Adonis uses his written summoning magic. This time, he does not stop writing his spells. His magical words spread across the entire city. The buildings start breaking apart. Adonis announces that this time, not even Shirusagi's bones will remain. Meanwhile, all the written spells gather into one place and form a giant magic circle. The weather begins to worsen, and snow starts falling heavily. Adonis remembers that this spell was taught to him by Chloe, and he had promised Chloe that he would only use this magic to save someone. Even in this weakened state, Shirusagi gathers some strength and tries to attack them with his hands. But Adonis instantly freezes them and shatters them to pieces. Shirusagi tells Doroka that no human body can survive this weather. Soon, Adonis will freeze and die. Doroka tells Adonis he will not freeze. Just then, flames erupt from Adonis's body, keeping him warm. Shirusagi realizes that convincing Doroka is useless. He attempts to strike again, but before he can reach Adonis, his body freezes. Adonis completes his spell, named Absolute Zero. After that, a powerful light shines down from the magic circle. The weather worsens further, and the entire place begins to freeze. Watching Doroka struggling in the storm, Adonis uses his spell to create armor for her so she can survive. The storm grows stronger, freezing the entire city and spreading to the surroundings. Meanwhile, in the Radia Empire, all communication signals are lost. Even the satellites cannot detect anything. Charmy has no idea what happened to Shirusagi. Suddenly, one satellite starts working again. Charmy and others are shocked to see that the weather is gathering in one single place. At that moment, Director Oz arrives and remarks that dealing with Adonis will be very difficult. In the wasteland, people come out confused about where the storm came from. But Punch realizes what happened and wonders if Adonis and Doroka are safe. Meanwhile, Adonis and Doroka sit quietly in one spot. At this moment, Chloe's spirit appears. She embraces Adonis and then departs. She is happy to see that Adonis kept his promise and used the spell only to save someone. Adonis watches her go, remembering the promise he made to her. When Adonis and Doroka stand up, Doroka notices the armor Adonis gave her to keep her safe. But she sees that Adonis's own condition has become critical from using the spell. She quickly ends the spell, but Adonis collapses. She checks his heartbeat, and to her relief, he is still alive. At that moment, Shirusagi remarks that they both look like him and Queen Dorothea. He asks Doroka that if she meets Queen Dorothea, she should deliver his message that he failed to complete his mission of reincarnation, but he tried his best. As the ice around him shatters, Shirusagi dies along with it. Doroka does not understand what he meant by reincarnation. Adonis regains consciousness and promises Doroka that he will fix her eyes. The scene changes to Queen Dorothea. Wherever she goes, people become obsessed with her. Her activities are broadcast live on huge screens across the city. After her run, she greets everyone and enters her castle. Her guard advises her not to go alone and says he could have arranged protection. Queen Dorothea replies that people love her and would never hurt her. She asks if her message has been sent to all nations, which includes the nation of Mika, labeled, and Oriensolo. Queen Dorothea declares that if they do not accept her request, she will start a war against them. Meanwhile, Doroka stands outside, and Adonis approaches her, placing a blanket over her shoulders. He apologizes, saying everything happened because of him. Doroka also apologizes, explaining that her love spell caused all of Adonis's deep feelings for Chloe to shift toward her. But Adonis does not blame her, as he was the one who asked her to cast the spell. He admits that Shirusagi was too powerful, and without Doroka's help, he could not have won. Adonis asks Doroka to lift her hair. When she does, he sees her eyes, and remarks this is also his fault. He rewraps the bandages, and assures her she does not need to worry. Doroka begins to trust him more. She feels as if he is hugging her, but Adonis finishes tying the bandages and lightly knocks her on the head, claiming that his heart still belongs only to Chloe. He clarifies that Doroka's love spell never actually affected him. Doroka feels happy knowing this truth. Adonis remarks they should pack and leave since there is no reason to stay. While leaving, Doroka slips and she almost falls, but Adonis catches her hand. He jokes that a foolish witch once told him they should help each other. Finally, both of them continue their journey.